Welcome to the Elkville Christian Church Podcast. This is episode 7. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jordan. And we are here with our wonderful guest tonight, Lou Pruitt. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Before we get started with the easy questions, Jordan's got some hard questions for you to get warmed up.
Favorite food?
I like almost all foods, and I really like to try new food.
Movie you could watch on repeat?
That has to be Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind. That's the second Gone with the Wind we've had.
Ought to be keeping a tally.
Yeah, we should. Beatles, Beach Boys, or Elvis Presley?
Oh, gee. I don't like this. I take Elvis.
Elvis? All right.
But I don't want to keep him.
Do what? Do what?
I don't want to keep him.
No, that's okay. If you could visit any era, time period, what would it be?
Oh, I'd like to go back to the 1890s when things were really exciting.
Where would you want to be, on the east or out west?
I want to be down south, where Scarlett O'Hara was from.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Duh.
Past, present, or future, if you could have dinner and a conversation with any person, who would it be?
I would like to have dinner with and conversation with...
And it can be somebody famous. It can be a passed away relative. I mean...
Probably my grandpa.
You're very close?
He lived with us.
Oh, cool. All right. If you could be president for a day, what's the first thing you would do?
Probably resign.
Another tally.
Another tally for the resign. Understandable. If you weren't doing what you do now, or what your profession was before, like you retired, what would your dream job be?
That was my dream job. Yeah. I was born loving two things, babies and fabric, and God was so good. I had lots of both of them.
Awesome. All right. And then last one. Would you rather know the history of every object you touched or be able to talk to animals?
Well, I've talked to animals. They've never talked back.
Well, they would be able to talk back.
History's interesting. I'll take the history.
All right. Very cool.
Right. Now we get started with the next segment. I'm going to read our Bible verse. It's basically summing up what this video series is about, trying to talk with individuals of our church, such as yourself, gain some wisdom from you, hear what you have to say about church history and your life as a Christian. And so, without further ado, I'm going to read Proverbs chapter 1, verses 1 through 7. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. For attaining wisdom and discipline, for understanding words of insight, for acquiring a disciplined and prudent life, doing what is right and just and fair, for giving prudence to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the young. Let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance, for understanding proverbs and parables, the sayings and riddles of the wise. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline. Well, let's just start at the beginning. Lou, where and when were you born?
I was born in Reno, Illinois. It's up by Greenville.
Reno. Okay. And what year was that?
1933.
1933. Just a little behind Thelma, then.
Mm-hmm. Thelma's 3 years older than me.
Okay.
I'm way behind her, though, because I just don't get around as good as Thelma.
She's pretty chipper.
We should all hope to aspire to get around as well as Thelma when we get that age.
Whatever she's eating or drinking, we all need to take note.
Yeah. She didn't drop any secret knowledge, but there's got to be something there she's doing different.
So is that where you grew up, in Reno, or did you move away?
No, I went to Reno school and then to Sorrento for high school.
All right. So how many siblings did you have in your family?
Just two, me and my brother.
Okay.
But the man I married, there were 10 in his family. And they came home every Sunday. All their children. And it was just like a giant family reunion every Sunday. And Grandma cooked up a big meal, and the girls brought homemade angel food cakes. They had this competition of whose would be the tallest, and they put them on the piano up high so that the little ones couldn't get them. But Grandpa Pruitt, who's kind of old and not too fast by that time, would pick the babies up and hold them up and let them bite the frosting off the cakes. And Grandma would scold him. Every Sunday, the same thing. And I loved that. That's why I wanted a family like that.
Yes.
Because they came home every Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a good time. Yeah, Grandpa's got to spoil the grandkids.
Yeah.
So, in Reno, did you meet your husband there? So he was from there too?
No, Reno is a little town north of Greenville. Greenville is the county seat.
Yes.
And I went there to work in a restaurant.
Okay.
It was owned by relatives. The only reason I got the job because I was too shy to talk.
Were you waitressing?
Yes.
And so did you meet your husband there?
Yes.
And what's his name?
Jack.
What did he do for a living?
He was a mechanic and a coal miner, and I guess last job was coal mines because he got injured there. I was retired.
So when did you all meet?
1949.
And then when did you get married?
1950.
Okay.
We moved from Greenville to St. Louis. Lived in the city for a while.
Okay.
And he worked for Chrysler Corporation as a mechanic, but they were starting a one-car dealership only. And it was a new thing, and they started it in Pinckneyville, Tom Mann's sporting goods store.
Okay.
That was our shop.
Okay.
And we moved down here.
Gotcha.
So did you actually move to Pinckneyville, or did you move to Elkville and he just drove?
No, we lived in Pinckneyville.
Okay. So how long were you guys in St. Louis?
Oh, probably, let's see, which was the baby? Time with baby.
Well, that's...
Probably 4 or 5 years. And then we moved to Greenville, to Pinckneyville, and we've been down here ever since, or at least some of us have.
So you mentioned you had 8 children, is that right?
9.
9, okay. And Gary and Larry are the youngest?
Yes.
And which one's younger?
Gary.
Gary's the youngest, okay. Interesting. He always talks about Larry all the time, so I assume they were close.
Yeah.
So did you raise your family in Pinckneyville, or did you move to Elkville soon after?
Oh, we moved to Ava after Pinckneyville.
Ava.
And then from Ava over here.
Okay. So did anybody go to Elkville High School?
All my kids went to Oakville High School.
Oh, they all went. Okay.
Okay, so
Till Larry dropped out.
Oh, okay.
so they were young when you were in Pinckneyville and then went to Ava.
They were the last 5 were born down here. The first 4 were born in St. Louis, and then the last 5 were born.
So what's the age difference between the oldest and the youngest?
I started in 1950, and I think I probably had my last baby maybe 1960 or 62. I'm not sure. You have to ask Gary how old he is.
Old.
Well, he's pretty close in age with my dad, and my dad was born in 65.
Yeah, that's right, 65. Okay. 50 to 65. Okay. Thank you.
That's pretty good.
That's a good spread.
That is a good spread.
Yeah, I had babysitters.
Did you?
You know, homegrown babysitters. Sandy was the oldest. My daughter Sandra.
That helps out a lot.
Well, that's one of the things we've talked about before was, when you have all those kids, then they end up, the older ones they mature fast anyway because they have to, and then they're also several years older, so they start helping out, and it's not like you have all those babies all at once.
No. And they always had jobs and things that were their responsibility to do. I think children need to have some responsibilities.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right.
So when you lived in like Pinckneyville and Ava, did you live in town, or were you in the country, or did you have like farm-style house?
Well, the first house we moved into was in town in Pinckneyville. Yeah. It was Senator Ham had lived there. And there was a closet full of books, which I love books. Yeah. And I still have one of them. It's Our Great Benefactors. I stole it.
No.
Well, okay, so another question. Outside, you asked your favorite movie. What's your favorite book? Do you have a favorite author?
No.
No.
I just like to read.
Just like to read? Okay.
That's when I that's the first thing I wanted to do when I went to school. And my granddaughter was just the same way. I remember she came home, been going to school a whole week and can't read already. But I used to sit around with kerosene lamps. There was no electricity. We didn't get electricity where I lived until I was 12 years old. Wow. So I lived for the first 12 years of my life without electricity, which is more difficult than with it.
So this is something that always comes up when it's real hot outside. How did you all sleep without, like, because if we lose power in the middle of the night, like I guess I'm a light enough sleeper. If I hear the fan kick off, it wakes me up. And like no air conditioner, I just imagine it had to be very hot sleeping at night. Did you get used to it?
I remember being at my cousin's house once, and you sleep with all the windows open, no matter about the mosquitoes. Some people had mosquito netting, some people didn't. Yeah. But it was just very difficult. Sometimes we'd take our blanket and go outside, see if we could find a breeze or anything. It was difficult.
Yeah. I've always wondered about the mosquitoes, too, because I know they get bad.
I think maybe it seems there might be more mosquitoes now than there were then. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't remember having too much trouble with mosquitoes. The heat was worse. Yeah. It was really difficult.
Yeah. As far as church goes, did your family always attend church, even growing up?
No. We went with neighbors. My mother thought we should go to church, but she didn't go, and my grandfather didn't go. And we went with neighbors.
Okay.
In a wagon, usually. And they'd pick up a wagon load. They'd pick up all the people they could to take it.
Neat. So was that was in Reno then when you started going?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you were married and had kids. Did you take your family to church?
I did. But not their father. He never went.
Oh, he didn't? Okay.
That was the woman. I actually heard him say that. And several other. That it's the women and the children that need to go to church.
Huh. Interesting. So you were in charge of getting the kids. Did they have Sunday school service at the time?
Oh, yes. I went to the Baptist church in Dow.
Oh, okay.
And my children. And then even when they were, I still went to Baptist church when I moved over here.
Yes.
And Gary was the pastor here.
Oh.
He wasn't the pastor here when I moved there, but he became the pastor, I think. I'm not sure. Old brains are not as good as young ones, so it's not going to get better.
That's all right.
There's a lot that happened that you got to keep track of.
Anyway, we went to the Baptist church, and it was your grandmother.
Oh, yeah?
Who got me started here. We were friends from school events, because we had children in the cooking classes and the home ec classes and everything that we met and talked to. So she was one of my first people I met around here.
So what you mentioned fabric earlier.
Oh, I made custom window treatments for everybody in the whole area.
Oh, wow.
For years. I started when Gary was 3 months old because I wanted to work, but I couldn't find a babysitter.
Sure.
So I decided, I read an ad in the paper, Fashion Fabrics in Carbondale wanted somebody to sew at home and make window coverings. I can do that. And so they tried out several, but I was the winner. I got the job, and I made lots and lots of curtains. Then after that, I worked for Larry Wilson. I didn't make them there. Then we opened our own shop, and Carol and I had a business in my garage for a couple, 3, 4, 5 years.
Did you branch out into like clothing or anything?
No, clothing is too hard. Windows are square, people aren't.
That's true.
I made all my children's clothing. I even made suits and tuxedos and everything for the boys.
Oh, wow. That's
tailoring and stuff like that.
Well, can't be too hard then, because I mean, you got a lot of kids.
But I love to sew, and I love children.
Yeah. Well, that's good motivation.
That's what I got started here. Your grandmother and I were talking, and she said she was working we always did this, and I came and helped her take care of the Bible school workers' children in the nursery. And she needed help because there were quite a few. And I said, I could come help you. So that's how I got started here. I just worked in the nursery with the babies. But then the people were so nice. The people are the reason that I wanted to come here. They were just really nice and friendly.
We do have a lot of good people here.
Yes, you do. We're fortunate.
What do you recall what year that was when you started coming here? Do you have any idea?
Well, Gary had been here a couple of times, or no. Gary had been here a while, but people would say, I'd say, he's my son, he's not my pastor.
Yeah.
I've always went to the Baptist church, I'll continue going to the Baptist church. But anyway, I came here and the people were so nice. I loved the nursery, working in the nursery with the kids.
Yeah, kids are pretty special.
And I worked there for a long time. Yeah. And it's interesting watching and seeing how those nursery kids are now the adults taking charge of the church, doing things.
Your parents didn't take you to church. You rode with neighbors to church. They made sure you got there. When you came of age, was there ever a time where you were wondering for yourself whether it was something you should continue on doing, going to church?
No.
You just never...
It's not possible. You know, there's this theory that it was an accident, explosion in space that caused the planets and all of that to go. Accidents don't happen like that.
Yeah.
There had to be a planner and a maker and a creator. And so I've always known that there was a creator. And I always felt like my grandmother told me that I was special and God created me especially because I had something to give or something. So I always believed her. She was a smart lady. Yeah. And I was always thankful, and I have always received answers to prayers. If you wait long enough, it might not be what you want, but it's an answer, and usually they're pretty clear.
Yeah. So do you have a prayer discipline or any kind of Christian discipline that you'd like to share?
My favorite one is do unto others as you would have them do unto you, because if you treat the other people right, they will usually treat you right. And if they don't, you just have to walk away. Yeah. But most of the time, I've walked away very little.
Yeah. How often do you read the Bible or pray?
Oh, I pray a lot because I need a lot of help.
Do you pray throughout the day, or is there just a certain time?
Oh, yes, I do. But, I'm not a very good driver, I guess, because I drove myself into the creek. 6 Mile, I think.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was on the way to my friend's mother's 100th birthday party, which I'm planning on having a 100th birthday party, too.
All right.
It's only 8 years away.
Yeah, might as well get there.
It goes by fast.
Anyway, I was trying to situate my strawberry shake that I was taking for my healthy strawberry shake for breakfast, because I was having my breakfast on the way.
Yes.
And I gave myself permission to take my eyes off the road. And you know what? That car swerved and went into the creek over there.
A silly car.
It was terrible. And I sat there and I prayed and I cried and I prayed and I cried and nobody came. Then there was a giant bread truck or something, one of those big delivery trucks went by, and he's way up there and he didn't see me down here. So I said, okay, they're not going to see you down here. You're going to have to get to the top of this. And it was a big, steep embankment, and it was all wet because it was spring and it was muddy. And I picked out the biggest growth tree thing that I could find to pull myself up with, and it just came out, and I went back down into the water.
Oh, no.
So I prayed. I said, God, you have to get me out of here because I cannot do it myself. And I got up and, as fierce as I could, stuck my fingers into that bank, and I went straight up that bank just like a little raccoon or something. So that was God, because I didn't do that myself.
Yeah.
I put the car in there myself out of stupidity. But that was God that got me out of there. And there's been several other things when I've seen prayers answered almost immediately. Sometimes it takes a long time, and sometimes you got to pray a whole lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes it never happens because it's not what you need.
Yeah.
But I truly believe in the power of prayer. And I absolutely know there is a God.
Mm-hmm.
and his son Jesus, who saved me.
So, how about Bible reading? Do you read the Bible every day? Do you have a strict discipline on that?
I'm probably very negligent in that.
Well, we all are.
Well, you can never really technically read it enough, but I didn't know if some people, and I think I brought this up before, but like some people read one Proverbs a day because there's one for basically every day of the month on top of their Bible reading, or just, if they read in the morning before they go to work or get up, to start their day, or they end their day, reading, just something like that.
I just pray to God more than I read, I think. I read occasionally, and I read my lesson, Sunday school lesson, and study that, so I know what they're talking about when I'm there.
That's important.
But I guess I probably don't. I should be reading more.
That's all right.
That's good advice too.
Yeah, read more.
Yeah.
I would like to go back and touch on something. You say you were born in 1933. So you were old enough when World War II was going on. I like history, so I can't imagine what it would be like going through something like that. So I mean, where, do you recall what you were doing when it kicked off, or when Pearl Harbor was bombed, or?
See, there was no TV, no radio, and we didn't have radio. We didn't have electricity until I was 12, but
Okay.
And World War was before then.
So how did you find out we were at war?
Reading it in the newspaper. Or maybe when you went to school, I'm not sure. But it was very, and we were all really, we thought we were safe. There's an ocean between us.
Right.
And we were really, how dare they? And we were going to, even little kids like us, we were little kids. We had a dime to buy a candy bar, or ice cream bar, I think it was. Mm-hmm. But we bought a defense stamp instead, because they sold defense stamps at school. Mm-hmm. And instead of having the dime for the ice cream, we bought a defense stamp. Mm-hmm. And we had pictures of things that, airplanes and tanks and things that they needed us to put money for, so that we would support the soldiers. And the other thing, I was like this, probably I'm 10 or 12 by now, because this is after the boys would come home, and some of them were, it's a small town, so everybody knows everybody, their neighbors and everything. Right. The girls wouldn't look at those boys when they left, but they come home in that uniform, and they've got 10 girls walking, because they walked from the school up to the store, the little red and white store there that we go up and get soda. They'd have 10 or 12. I couldn't understand that at all. What happened?
Yeah, you always hear that trope. A man in uniform looks good, but
every girl's crazy about a sharp-dressed man.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah,
because I try to wrap my head around it, because like now it's instant. Like we live in the age of information. So if something happens, if somebody sneezes, 3 counties over, we know about it.
Absolutely.
But back then, especially if you didn't have electricity or TV or radio, and you got it on the newspaper, that probably would have been quite a shock.
But we didn't have one.
So what about when it ended?
I was pretty young when it started, but I remember the high school kids that would leave and go join the service, and then come back and have 29 girls. Well, probably all high school girls. It was a small school.
I was that time in history is always pretty interesting to me, just because it was such a shock, but we seemed very, very unified as a people. And
everybody, the school children. There were no more candy bars. You save that dime for a defense stamp to put in that book.
Did you go to college after high school?
I dropped out of high school to get married.
Oh, okay.
But then I did go back SIU and take a CLEP test and start out where I was, which was as a sophomore.
Okay.
And I went until something happened. Oh, my daughter had a baby.
Okay.
Somebody had to stay home and take care of the baby. She's in college too.
Okay.
And so I said, I'll stay home and take care of the baby.
Gotcha. All right.
And I don't regret it.
Very rewarding job, taking care of babies.
That's my favorite thing, babies and fabric, and God has so blessed me with those 2 things.
That's always a blessing when you can do what you love.
Right.
and make money at it too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's like, but I'm glad to see other people be happy to get to do that. Are there any interesting things about ECC from, early on, like maybe when we were children, that you remember, like any fond memories or interesting things about the old building or renovations, anything like that?
Oh, it was hard leaving the old building because it was so quaint and so cherished. And I'm glad that you all kept the stained glass windows and put them in here. I'm so happy for that. I really hated leaving that little church.
I love art and drawing and stuff like that. So the stained glass windows, I mean, they're beautiful.
Yes.
Yes,
they are.
Yeah, they're something. I don't know how they're made, but they're pretty. They really are.
No, it was just helping your grandma with. She's not your grandma. She is your grandma.
Dorothy?
Dorothy's your grandma.
Yeah, that's my mom's mom.
Yeah, and in the nursery, and then I started, because I tell people that I still drive right past here, and up to my Baptist church because Gary is not my pastor; he's my son.
Do you have any advice on raising children? Any nuggets of advice you'd like to give us today?
Just pray a lot. You can't do it by yourself. You got to pray a lot.
Okay.
Anything besides praying a lot?
Well, I don't think a little bit of physical punishment hurts, but you don't want to hurt them, but let them feel it.
Yeah, Gary's mentioned a time or two that he used to get physically punished. He seems to turn out all right.
Spare the rod and spoil the child.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So Gary wasn't spared then, huh?
Well, my parents definitely believed in that as well, and we deserved a lot of punishment of all types. Mainly because we were fighting amongst each other, and that always got us into trouble.
Better amongst yourselves than with other people, I suppose.
It's true. Could always be worse.
So anything other than prayer and discipline? I mean,
Consistency. Don't say yes today or no today and then let them talk you into changing it to yes tomorrow. You have to be consistent.
do you have any advice on marriage?
Oh gosh, I haven't been married so long. My husband's been gone for such a long time. I forgot what it's like even to have somebody there to talk to all the time. Just pray a lot. Prayer is my answer to everything.
Well, that's not a bad answer to everything.
Prayer really works.
Yeah.
There's just no way that there could not be God. And I truly believe in Jesus, his son, too. There's just no way that anything as complex and as giant as this whole solar system is, that could happen by an accident.
Well, my thoughts on the Big Bang Theory is, I would imagine that God speaking the universe into existence might be pretty violent. Might be a big bang.
Yes.
Don't know, but I imagine that's not a gentle process.
Well, he did it his way. We don't know what his way was.
Right.
He created us for his creation.
Church life, being a member of the church, how important is that to you?
I enjoy it very much, but I had my belief in God firmly established before I joined the church from my home life with my grandfather lived with us.
So what about someone who would think that you can believe in God, but going to church isn't as important?
I don't know how to deal with those people. I live with one.
You do hear that a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear.
There's a lot of people our age that probably think that.
Yeah. Well, I can believe, but I don't have to go to church. Or the other side of the coin is people like, well, I need to clean up my life a little bit before I go to church.
Yeah. That's what going to church will help you do.
I think you're missing the point on both accounts.
Right.
Like, listen or read the word. I mean, it calls for, community and gathering.
Yes.
And fellowship. And I don't know about you, but if I miss a week of church, it throws or a day of church, it throws my whole week off.
Yeah, I miss it too. You just feel like something's not right.
It helps that we can watch the sermons if we're sick or on vacation or something, but it's not the same.
No, it's not the same.
Not even remotely the same.
No.
You were very active with the children, obviously. You told us that. Was there anything else besides working with the kids in the nursery that you did as a volunteer role?
Oh, I put up all the window shades and all that kind of stuff. Anything, the curtain behind the all that. Anything with fabric.
Did you do the baptistry curtain?
Yeah.
The green?
The green?
Probably.
Well, that's really cool that you made that.
I love to do that kind of stuff.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Is there anything else topic-wise you want to discuss or anything left unsaid that you want to let us know or let anybody who watches this video know?
It's just been very interesting starting in with the nursery and watching those children grow up and then seeing the work that they're doing here today still. Yeah. That's very satisfying and very interesting, and it makes me happy that they're still here, still working in the church.
Do you want to speak on anything? Do you want to compare like the culture of the life and times of when you were growing up or coming to age to today, as far as people's attitudes? Anything notable that you'd like to compare or contrast? Anything special that you liked back then that isn't going on today, or vice versa?
I think people are people. There's good and bad.
Human nature is human nature.
Yes. I think there's always been good and there's been bad, and there's been those kind of medium in between. They're a little bit good and a little bit bad. Yeah. Nobody's perfect.
Is there anything that you miss about, the 40s, 50s, 60s, just back then, compared to today?
Well, I miss not getting around as fast and as easy as I used to.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, just, seeing old movies, videos, I think the movies were a lot better, but I feel like culture, it was okay to be patriotic. It was okay to love your country and even, to be religious.
Right.
And music. Man, the music was great.
Well, put it to you this way. We romanticize thinking about those times.
Yeah.
Everything seemed like it was better then. I mean, higher quality, people interacted better with each other.
Men were men and women were women.
Yeah, and so there's probably a lot of that's true, but I kind of wonder if we always have rose-colored glasses when you look in the past and you don't really realize that, well, there were problems then. That's the same flavor of problems we're having now. We just have new ways of dealing with them, or it comes out in a different way. And, in the future, it's going to be the same thing again. Because when you read the Bible, and sorry to keep rambling on, people were doing some horrible things early on, in the middle, and then later.
People are people. None of us are perfect, but
yeah.
They've always been really horrible, bad things that happened, and there's always been positively, absolutely above and beyond things that they do with the help of God. Because I don't think any of us are good inherently.
Right.
Well, no, sin is still sin. You're never going to change the sin or the sinner. But we just, to his point, was it as good back then as we think it is?
You're probably a bit romanticizing it.
Yeah.
Like, I remember one time in my life being hungry. It was hard during the Depression. And when I was young, very young.
I mean, I would agree that the quality of life, food availability and stuff is probably better. I don't know. It just seems like it was a great time to be an American.
Well, it's still a great time to be an American.
Well, it still is, but I
wouldn't trade it.
Yeah.
And I've been to other countries, and they're nice, but...
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. We went to Mexico for our honeymoon.
Hey, there could be Mexicans listening to our podcast.
Sorry, my hermanos in Christ. Sisters, hermanos. Anyway, That's about all the
Worldwide, Jordan, didn't you know?
I exhausted my Spanish vocabulary other than taco, burrito, and guacamole right there. Anyway, we went on our honeymoon. I digress. We went on our honeymoon to Mexico, and we got back into the airport in St. Louis, and the guy was like, "Did you have a good time?" I said, "Yeah." "Are you ready to be back?" "Absolutely." I was like, I was ready to kiss the ground. You know, when we got back, the first thing we did was go to Dairy Queen and get a good old American cheeseburger. I said, "It's great, but it's not America."
Well, my granddaughter has afforded me travel opportunities.
Where all of you traveled to?
I've been to Rome. I've been to Venice. I've been to Hawaii. The tallest peak in the continental United States is in Hawaii. And so I have a very good son-in-law, Sandy's husband, Ron. He'll do anything I ask him to.
Yeah.
So I said, let's drive to the top of this mountain so that we can look down and see what the earth looks like from the tallest point on it. Doesn't that sound like an interesting thing to do?
That does sound cool.
Well, we did it. Ron did it. Yeah. And do you know what? We didn't see anything going up there. Yeah. But when we got up there and looked down, about 2/3 of the way down maybe, there's a red ring around the whole thing. You can't see below it. It's the pollution.
Is it from us or is it from the volcanoes or a combination? Because I know they have eruptions and that puts junk into the air as well.
It's everything that's culminated there. You can't see from the top of the highest point. You can't see to the ground because there's this big, and I remember it being kind of reddish-orange ring around. Because we walked all around because there's that little fence up there that you can walk around. Yeah.
Well, there's a big telescope up there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, but that's not where they let people go. That's over there kind of.
Okay.
Those people are so kind and so gentle, especially to old people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My kids are usually they're all in education, so they're usually on a seminar learning stuff, and I have time to roam around by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just so helpful in Hawaii. Other places, take care of yourself. But Hawaii just goes overboard to be helpful to old people anyway.
Some of your advice then is to go to Hawaii.
It was fun. Okay. All right. And the food is delicious.
Yeah.
I love food.
And when they found out it was my birthday, they just went really overboard with food.
Oh,
yeah?
Wow.
Did you have a luau?
We didn't go to a luau.
No.
But the restaurants are really good, too. It was fun.
Cool.
That's what my kids did for my 70th birthday.
So there's
That's
still
nice
hope. I'll see Hawaii someday.
What happens when you have a bunch of them? They can do that. I enjoyed that family of 10 because there'd only been 2 and me and my brother, you know. Yeah. And I wanted one just like it, but I stopped at 9.
I don't know if my sanity could take that many, but never know.
You don't know. You get them one at a time.